Usual way, we normally start with the pledge to the flag, and today we've asked actually all of the local scout troops to identify scouts that are getting their Eagle badge. If they want to come and participate in our meetings, they would lead us in the flag, pledge to the flag, and today we have a almost newly minted Eagle Scout, Grant Schaefer.
Yeah.
And he's getting his Eagle Award this next Saturday at the First Trinity Church?
Yeah.
Right. And he's in Troop 206, where I used to be an assistant scoutmaster. I'm also an Eagle Scout. He'll be here next week, or next month also, in uniform, and I'll wear my uniform as well. You'll see that. And we'll have both our Eagle badges up there, and we're going to give him a proclamation at the time. Okay?
So do you still get your...
Yes, I do. You'll see that.
He's so true.
So anyway, so why don't we start our meeting off with the pledge to the flag, and why don't you come on up and lead us in the pledge. Okay, nice and loud so everybody can hear.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up, and congratulations. Okay. So we'll see you next month.
Oh yes, I hope you will.
All right, so now that we've started the meeting officially, why don't we go ahead and have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Carlson?
Here.
Councilmember Dobby?
Here.
Councilmember McKeithen?
Here.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Here.
Mayor Whitmer?
Here. Okay, next thing on our agenda is the introduction of new officer Anthony Barron. Chief.
No free food. Just kidding. I think it's marvelous that all of you are here. This really is a very, very important day for Anthony, and I'm really proud of you. Anthony went through a lot of hurdles to get here, and I can guarantee you there were about 25 other applicants that we looked at very closely, and we passed on many of them to get to Anthony. So you're standing in the shoes of about 25 other people that would have liked to. I have a little bio here I thought I would read on Anthony, so most of you probably know this already, but for the few that are not here for Anthony, I'll read this anyway. Anthony Barron was born and raised in San Mateo. After graduating from Argonne High School, he went on to play baseball for Kenyatta College. He took a few years off from college and worked for his father, Joel, in the furniture industry. In 2007, Anthony decided to continue his education at the College of San Mateo, where he enrolled in a series of administration of justice courses. It is through these classes that Anthony gained an extreme interest in law enforcement and had a desire to become a police officer. In March 2011, he enrolled in the South Bay Regional Police Class, SB 109, where he was elected by his peers to serve as the class treasurer. 6 months later, Anthony was only one of 16 to graduate from the academy. Anthony is the son of Joel and Gina, down here in the front, and has an older brother. Looks like you have more than one. Younger brother, I'm sorry. Looks like you have more than one or two. Brothers Brandon and Nicholas that are in the back here, I presume. And I'll tell you, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you not only to the town of Atherton, but the Atherton Police Department, and just glad you're here. I'd like to take a couple of minutes just to have you introduce some of your family members here and friends. Probably going to start with your mom and dad.
Yeah, so mom and dad, Joel and Gina here, my grandma Iris, and my grandma Marlene, and grandpa Lou, and Nana Pop. Who else? Rick Apicechea, officer from San Mateo, who was my training officer in the academy.
Thanks for coming, Rick.
see my brothers, Brandon's in the back. More friends and family, cousins, my godmother, Poe, Aunt Laura, Jill Grossman, who was very important in me getting here as well. She helped me a lot along the way. Grandpa George, he was a retired SFPD. Jim is a SFPD lieutenant, retired. And everybody else, if I didn't say your name, I'm sorry.
Well, you come from very good stock, and I'm proud to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. I've asked Anthony to stand in. This is a very special week for police officers. This is Police Officer Memorial Week. And there's been a spike across the nation in police officer deaths. It's up about 14%. And 8 officers were killed in California in 2011. So tonight, the mayor is going to read a proclamation for Police Officer Memorial Week.
So thanks, Chief. So first off, everybody who's here, you have to stay for the whole meeting. This is one of our better turnouts. Anyway, the proclamation here is for National Peace Officer Memorial Day. So in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officer Memorial Day. The calendar week in which May 15th falls is recognized also as National Police Week. Whereas a candlelight vigil is held traditionally on the 13th of May, regardless of the day it falls on. The National Peace Officers Memorial Day service is hosted by the Fraternal Order of the Police and the Fraternal Order of the Police Auxiliary. And whereas the Town Council and the community of Atherton would like to honor the men and women of law enforcement for their never-ending commitment to protection of life and property. And whereas, as the Chief mentioned, we'd like to honor the 8 fallen officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty in 2011. Whereas we would also like to honor the 10 officers killed in the line of duty enrolled in prior years. Therefore now, as the Mayor of Atherton and on behalf of the Council, I would like to proclaim that this week, May 13th through the 19th, 2012, be recognized as National Police Week and remember those officers who paid the ultimate sacrifice for their lives, while serving the protection of the citizens of this great state of California. I have signed it as of today, so thank you, Chief and Officer. Okay, now we go to the heart of the meeting. Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming. So you should probably pan all the people that are going out so you can get that all on YouTube.
Who's John McClure?
Yeah, nice. Trying to leave the crowd.
Get a good picture of that.
Okay, we will now get started with the public comments. I'll remind you that this portion of the meeting is for public comments that are items that are not on the agenda, and there are a number of them today. Anyone who wishes to speak on any subject not on the agenda, please step forward. We ask that we keep our comments respectful and we keep them to a reasonable amount of time. Thank you very much. State your name and your address, if you so please. Thank you.
Denise Kupperman, 74 Atherton Avenue, and I am here on behalf of the Atherton Tree Committee. And we want to remind the community that we will be holding our SAW Blitz, which is the Sudden Oak Death Blitz. It's one of the largest volunteer scientific research projects going on in the country at the moment. We've been working with the University of Berkeley research scientist Matteo Gabaretto for the last few years, and this will be the third year. What it entails is having volunteers in our community collect bay leaves that will be tested for sudden oak death. It's the bay leaf that is the carrier, and it is by mapping where the occurrence happens that we can see where it's traveling. So far to date, there are no oak trees in Atherton that have succumbed to sudden oak death. We lose lots of oaks due to overwatering and construction damage, but luckily not sudden oak death. But it has appeared in some areas west of the Alameda. So we encourage residents to either join us on May the 2nd at 1 p.m. There'll be a brief discussion and then a little packet, and we go out into either our own gardens or areas or along our street to collect bay trees. And if you don't feel that you have the time to do that, please contact the tree committee or the town arborist if you have a bay in your backyard or front yard, or you know of some along easements or roadways, and we would be happy to collect them for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's June the 2nd?
June the 2nd, Saturday, June the 2nd, and we will be meeting in the carriage house at Holbrook Palmer Park.
Thank you. Anyone else? William, welcome back from vacation.
It's nice to be back. Subject is high-speed rail. Quick briefing. In March, I was with Assemblymember Diane Harkey. We spent a week in Washington. We saw 19 congressmen and senators, and we have managed to get the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, launched into a full-scale investigation of the California high-speed rail project. By meeting also with Congressman Darrell Issa of San Diego, he has now launched an intergovernmental committee investigation onto conflicts of interest in the California high-speed rail project. The governor keeps pounding the drum that he's going to use cap and trade funds, that's from AB 32, to supplement the monies that he now admits is not likely to come from the federal government, which in reality is somewhere between 76 and 90 billion dollars. That's 12 zeros, folks. The admission of that is a step towards the actual reality that the project is likely stalled at the federal level. The governor is also continuing to have discussions through the High-Speed Rail Authority with various environmental groups, which should interest you, that are talking about, quote, streamlining the CEQA process for this project. A very slippery slope, because if you can justify one, you can justify all. The most interesting thing that's happened in the last week or so, last Friday, the United States Secretary of Department of Transportation, Ray LaHood, came to California on a single mission. It was to berate the legislature of the state of California for not having voted to allocate the $2.7 billion in matching funds to the federal government's $3.3 billion, i.e. the $6 billion total to form the basis for a rail track from nowhere to nowhere in the Central Valley. The take on that is that the federal FRA under LaHood is disgusted with all of us, as we are referred to richly enclave NIMBYs, is trying to stop their favorite little project. The reality is that they are not able to really start the high-speed rail project in Merced towards Bakersfield, because they now face not the lawsuit that was actually filed on behalf of Fucata-Toss in Kings County, actually originated by Mike Brady of Menlo Park, and they now face two other lawsuits from Valley interests, particularly the farmers. 4 of the 5 counties in the Central Valley, excepting Fresno, have voted thou shalt not come through that's the supervisors, thou shalt not come through our county, as well as the farm bureaus of those counties. So they're at an impasse. Now, why is the LaHood visit important? There is a very clear article in the contracts between the federal government and the state of California that all of the American Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Act money, otherwise known as stimulus money, has to be spent by September 2017. There have been a series of articles, mainly by Ralph Varatiba, if you pronounce it, you can love it, in the LA Times, that the timetable to build this is immensely impossible. They will have to spend over $3 million per day in building. It's not that they can't spend it, but will they get anything out of it? So it's a real question. So LaHood is pushing on the state legislature. Yesterday there was a very important meeting in the Senate. I don't know if any of you attended it, in which our senator, Joe Simitian, actually took Steinberg, thank you very much, the President Pro Tem of the Senate. He took him apart several times. It was a very testy set of exchanges, and Mr. Simitian finally may have some spine. Mr. Simitian said, "You will not push us, President Steinberg, you will not push us on an issue that involves $2.7 billion of the state's money with such incredibly bad data from the High-Speed Rail Authority." Senator Simitian, in his prior hearing, had told Dan Richard of the High-Speed Rail Authority, I'm having my staff prepare a list of questions that I've asked over the last 3 years from the authority, none of which have ever been asked. So things are boiling very fast. My take on it is that LaHood came here to shoot the shot over the bow that the governor, and he met before that if the federal government takes back the $3.3 billion, parentheses, for other worthy states where they are not slam dunk, meaning swing states in the coming vote, close parentheses, that money will then go back to the federal treasury. This project is dead. Now, I've been optimistic before, so don't believe everything I say. But I think we're seeing the demise of it. It's going to be a muddy field, and we've got some months to go. My colleagues, Ellen Endhoven of Atherton and Bill Warren of Palo Alto, have produced 36 reports now, taken them to Sacramento, 41 trips, and 5 to Washington. So we're still on the job. Take care. Any questions? Sorry.
Could I ask one question?
Yeah.
William, do you know where the next hearing is going to be held of the Senate?
When? I think it's... Where? No, I don't know.
Someplace up here.
I think it's in San Mateo County, but I think the date is June 7th, if I remember correctly. But frankly, I don't go to the hearings anymore because what we have in Sacramento is almost a super majority of Democrats, my party, which is not a good situation. So they don't particularly have to listen. I was surprised, quite frankly, yesterday at the backbone of several of the Democrats who actually stood up to the High-Speed Rail Authority. It's a sad situation. Not good, even if it were Republicans on the other side. So, yes, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to thank you again and your colleagues, as we've done in the past, for all of your efforts. I mean, you've put in a huge amount of time and a lot of expense.
Yes.
And I just want to publicly say we really appreciate everything you're doing.
Yeah. I actually am dressed up in my monkey suit because I just came back from a reception on 3000 Sand Hill Road for Assembly Member Bill Berryhill. This is not a political advertisement, who is running against Kathleen Galgiani, who is the sponsor of AB 3034, which is the High-Speed Rail Act of 2008. So Berryhill.
Are there any other public comments? Yes, John.
John Ruggiero, Stockbridge Avenue. At the last Transportation Committee meeting, we were discussing the traffic calming devices, and all of you have a copy of the issue, and so has the staff. And I just want to mention that this was researched by my wife, Virginia, and tried to look at it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Any other public comments at this time? Okay, seeing no other public comments, I will close the public comments and we will move on to the city manager report, item number 6. Oh, sorry, report out of closed session, sorry. The council met beginning at 5 o'clock on 2 items. One was a discussion with the labor negotiator, and the other one was with the city attorney on potential litigation, and there is no reportable action out of those meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. You have my written report. I did want to give a brief update on the city manager recruitment process. I've been meeting with the ad hoc committee consisting of the mayor and Councilmember McKeithen. We were given a list of 7 candidates from Bob Murray and Associates, who we hired as our executive recruitment firm. And the ad hoc committee has narrowed that down to 5, which they'll interview on May 29th and 30th. And then they'll make a recommendation to full council, probably the top 3.
And then those 3 will have full detailed background investigations done by Mr. Murray for us to consider as the full council for negotiation, or for interviews.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them how many applicants there were?
We had 58 applicants total.
59 counting them.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I have is I included the funding request from HIP Housing. They're asking for $5,000. I spoke to several of you individually, and you all agree that we'll stick to the $2,500, which we gave to them last year. So that's what we included in the budget as well.
Good.
Do you have any questions?
Questions for Teresa?
I just have a comment. I want to compliment staff on all of the very detailed reports that you're preparing for us. It really is a big help to be able to read the reports and get a sense of how we've been doing for the last month and year, and it's a great improvement from what we've had in the past. So thank you very much, and thank you, City Manager, for helping prepare it for us.
Thank you.
Okay. So then we'll move now to the consent calendar. Those are items number 8 through 22. And at this point in time, we'll go through the council and then we'll go to public and see if there are any items that either the council or the public wishes to have pulled and discussed and voted on independently. So we'll start here.
Through the chair. I am going to recuse myself on the approval of the April 18th minutes because I was not in attendance. I have to recuse myself from item number 15 because I live too close to the subject matter. I'd like to pull number 16 for, I see some residents for input from the residents that it involves if they want to make comments. And it's my understanding that we were going to pull item 17.
Right, we actually want to remove that altogether, item 17. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you for the reminder.
Okay.
Good. Jim, you have any?
20.
20. All right. Okay. Jerry?
20 as well.
I'd like to talk about item 12. Are there any items that the public would like to have pulled and discussed independently and voted on independently, where they would also have an opportunity to make a public comment? Seeing none, then what we're doing is we are pulling number 12 We're pulling 16. We're pulling item 20. Do we want to have any public comment? Can we take public comments on that? No? Okay. So we want to have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Do we need to separately approve the ones Elizabeth recused herself from?
Yeah.
Because she just made a motion to approve.
Right, okay. Can we have a motion to approve item number 8 and item number 15, which is the crosswalk? Jim has made a motion, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. So move. Okay, on item 12. My question is on the Little League, the fee for the Little League. I looked at both items 13 and I looked at items 12, and while both of them are minimal amounts, my question would be, is the fee appropriate for the fact that the AYSO fees are higher, yet the 10-year-olds use the fields just Monday through Friday after school, whereas the Little League is participating on those essentially every day of the week. There's practices on Sunday, there's games and practices Monday through Friday, as well as Saturday games. And so the use of those fields are more or less exclusive. And the purpose of all the discussions we've had about the park have been about having the park available for our residents. And I did an analysis based on the information that staff had provided subsequent to the issuance of the report. And in those analyses, it seemed that there was a 50-50 split in the participation of in-town and out-of-town participants. And I think that from my experiences with both of the leagues, both acting as a coach and other capacities, the split normally is 2/3, 1/3, with 1/3 being Atherton. So I would recommend for consideration for the other council members to discuss as to raising the fee from the amounts that were there up to a total amount of $3,100 for the season, and also that it just be a flat fee, because also my experience in working with both of those organizations, kids sign up, then they drop, people sign up late, depending on if the teams drop too many players, and it's going to be an administrative nightmare, and you're not really sure when you're going ahead and taking the limit, so, or taking the count. So we should just charge a flat fee, and that's my recommendation, that we raise the number up to $3,100, and that we just charge a flat fee for those, as opposed to looking at it on a per participant for this year. Is there any discussion on that?
My microphone is broken. I don't know whether that's a message from the other council members or not, but can you hear me? Oh, I think I've just got to lift it up. One of the things I've always wondered, now you really, thank you, you've got a louder microphone than me. I would like to know how much money these organizations charge the kids. In other words, I don't know what they charge, but I'm sure they charge quite a bit. And it would be nice to know how much the organization was obtaining and how much what percentage of that we were getting. I don't know the answer to that, but I certainly would like to know, because, you know, I have a funny feeling that they're charging people quite a bit of money and we're not getting too much. So that's one of the questions I have.
Are there any other questions first? I think you're with
Gary Kirkland from NYSL, I believe, yeah, and Chris Westlow, my partner here as well.
So do we want to take the response at this point in time?
Certainly. Sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so from a fee perspective, it's about $200 per child per year. We have about 500 children in the organization. And we have, we support about 6 fields. And as it relates to HP specifically, I think the reason that Chris Westlow is here is he helps manage all of our fields, and we put an enormous amount of time and capital into those fields. And by our inventory of the costs associated with HP, it runs us about $7,000 to $9,000 a year to finance the maintenance of that field. And we embrace the partnership, and the town of Atherton has been terrific in terms of our support on that field. It's a very important field to us. Our AAA kids play there who are 9, 10, and 11. But and recognizing the need to charge us something, we did want to have acknowledgement of the fact that there's a very significant amount of capital we put into those fields. And so, to address your question, sir, we run as a nonprofit organization. We don't make any money for the organization from the fees we charge the children. There are various services in addition to the fields. We have umpires. We have training at the beginning of the season and throughout in terms of professionals we bring in to help coach the kids. We put a lot of money into the fields as well. So Chris is here. If he can have a few moments to just maybe articulate what we do for the fields, I think that might be constructive.
Could I ask you a question before
Yes.
we hear from Chris? Do you have scholarships of any kind for students who can't afford the fee?
We do, and Chris is well versed on that. I'd be happy to address that for you.
Are there any other questions before we? Here, okay, fine.
Okay. Chris, you want to touch on some of the things we do for the fields?
Certainly. Our role as a sports organization is unique in that we do mowing, fertilizing, aeration, repair and maintenance of the irrigation systems. We're actually eyes and ears on the field. We work hand in hand with the cities and towns and schools that own the fields that we operate on. So we're a good presence to have. We sort of try and raise the standard of the facilities so that they are things that kids aspire to play on. We know that that's something that's extra and above, which is why we put in money from our organization to do that, rather than ask the cities and towns to take on that added burden. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions you have about what we do, how we do it, how we work with the cities and towns, at your preference.
Could you tell me something about your scholarship program?
Sure, we make sure that any kid who wants to play Little League, regardless of his financial situation, gets that opportunity. So any child that feels that there's a financial burden to them playing can apply to the league, and we've tried to accommodate every person that wants to play.
I would, in thinking about this, Bill, I guess I'd have to say that this is one of those things that, thinking about more, I guess this is something that the city can bite at. It's $700.
Difference, yeah. But it puts it more in line with the other organization that was in item 13.
$7,000 to $9,000 on that field is a lot for them to spend, and I know Steve did a lot of, Steve, I think maybe we should hear from you. I know you did an extensive study on this, so maybe enlighten us.
I'll just speak without a microphone if you guys can hear me okay. Oh, there's one.
You can use Jim's.
Yeah, we have traditionally, especially the last few years, had a terrific relationship with the Little League. They've come in and took the field from one place 3 years ago to where it is today, which is a far superior field with their money, with their labor. They're constantly asking us what we need. They do put in that type of investment. I can vouch for that. Not that soccer doesn't, but basically soccer doesn't, come anywhere. I know they send people out to probably put some stripes on the field on occasion with spray paint, but they offer no maintenance help to us. And if you look at Menlo Park, for one example, they have different rates for baseball and soccer. Soccer being almost double what baseball is, from $18 for soccer per player to $10 per player for soccer. So even though it is, not an equitable thing, I don't know that that's not a fair thing to be doing. Other cities do it. Soccer is much tougher on the facility than baseball is.
Thank you. Through the chair? Okay. So I think staff did a great job in analyzing and comparing fees from other jurisdictions, and I think that what is being proposed is a very fair rate. It's measurable. It's it seems to me that the Little League officials have been kind of brought along with this fee structure, and it's agreeable to them. My understanding is that the difference of the soccer fees is that that's what the soccer contract had been last year, and it's just kind of a renewal at the same rate. So I don't have any problem with how it's being measured with the numbers of players. Do you find that that would be a hard method of measuring your fees if you have children that dropped out?
Well, I think if you compare our usage to some of the other sports users, we use about 1/3 of the area that they use. We have about 1/3 of the players that they use, or 1/6. And as I said before, a very large proportion of our kids relative to the other sports come from the town of Atherton. And it has a lot to do with the way our Little League district is drawn. So by any of those measures, we would be a disproportionate user relative to some of the other folks. And on top of that, I would ask you to consider all the additional things that we do that are over and above. So either criteria.
No, I have no problem with the fee structure that's being proposed.
And I think to address your question maybe more specifically, so from a youth athlete perspective, we have about 200, about 500 as I mentioned. That number oscillates in a very minor way, and so as it relates to the beginning of the season, the end of the season, to charge on a per head basis would be a very easy thing for us to track. And we'd be willing to work with the city on if an average is more appropriate, but if we have maybe 5 children drop out, that might be the norm. So it's not a very hard.
Well, I think our comment was to just charge you a flat fee, as opposed to have you track and report to us and we go up and down, that we just get a flat fee.
Yep.